Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode
Four.
4 of Coffee Chats with Vignesh and Ranjani. Vignesh is quite pissed that I'm making him do this on a Sunday evening, but yeah, we want to do these short videos so that it helps you folks, right? These are basically questions we hear from our mentoring sessions. So, the question we'll talk about today, Vignesh, is around what are the smart questions or good questions to ask during a job interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is based on both what I've heard, what I've used myself, as well as what I hear from other folks, right? So,
And also from some of the interviews we take, right? Like some
yeah,
of the candidates who really prepare and come and ask those great
yep,
questions where we feel, wow, this guy,
yeah,
this girl has done their homework. So based
yeah.
on both sides, we'll try
Yep,
to cover that.
absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, the interview is a two-way street, right? We tend to think of it only like a one-directional thing. Oh, this is company evaluating you, but it is also you evaluating the organization, which is how it ought to be, right? So think of it that way, which therefore will put you in the right perspective to ask questions, right? The reason I say this is nothing is more disappointing than asking a candidate, "Do you have any questions?" and the person saying, "No, absolutely not." Either the person is not interested, like that's how I would gauge it, right, as the hiring manager, or they don't understand the role enough, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Before I talk about what are the good questions, maybe I'll just give you a quick what to do and what not to do, right? So one, this is an opportunity for you to ask what is not in the JD, right? So use this very effectively. Please do not go unprepared for this, right? So that's one. Second thing, don't ask things which are easily searchable. Like if you can Google for it, please don't ask that, right? It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the interviewer's time as well. So maybe I'll share a couple of the bunch of questions, right? Again, no good or bad answers here, but a couple of questions. One in terms of understanding the role, one in terms of understanding how your hiring manager and the team works in itself, right? The first one around the role. Uh, I've had folks ask me this question, right? What skill sets are you looking to fill with this specific role? And this is why it's a great question, because it gives you um, details beyond a JD, right? It gives you details around what is it that they're seeking to fulfill in that particular role. It also gives you details of what is the skill sets that they're assessing for, which you can then, if you have further rounds, you can think about evaluating yourself against those skill sets. So it's a very good question to ask, especially if it's with the hiring manager, right? So that's one. Second thing, and potentially this is for like at the end of the interview loop, for example, is how do you define success for you and your team, right? So this is something I may have for the hiring manager, because this helps you assess what success looks like, right? Is it impact? Is it what are the KPIs? What are the North Star goals, right? How do performance evaluations happen? What do they look for in candidates? Are you actually aligned with that, right? So it gives you a very good perspective of that. So those are my two. Again, there could be a bunch of other questions you should ask, but these are my top two. Anything else you'd like to add, Vignesh?
Yeah, the challenges of going second is you always run out of points, right? So I'm not gonna repeat what she said. So the two things that I can add over that is always show the enthusiasm to ask how does this role progress, or how does the organization that I'm going to fit in, what's the vision, how can it change in the next year or so, what's the strategy going to look like? Because end of the day, you want to be also showing that you are in the long run, right? Like you want to be part of it, you want to transform
Yeah.
yourself, learn, keep yourself abreast to the future of that particular organization and the role that you're applying for. Another one very critical thing is please understand the persona of the people who is interviewing and ask the right question. You don't want to be going and asking on in a technical round where a technical manager is basically trying to assess your technical skills. You don't want to be going and asking all high end like, hey, what's the go to market strategy going to be looking like for the product, what are the next big transformation that the company is going to do, because you want to have an engaged conversation. That's the work that you're doing, right? Like you want the other side to feel that yes, I can respond to that question and show that eagerness in that conversation. So that's the two that I had, beyond what Ranjani had. If I have to wrap it up, just to emphasize the one point that she said, right? Like JD specific and role specific. as much as possible, do your homework on what is being written, and ask very clear questions if you have a doubt there. Okay.
All right. Thank you, folks. We'll come back in another episode of
See
Coffee
ya.
Chats. Bye bye.